did not tailor the offense to what Justin Fields does best. What he brought with him from college, 4.4 speed, and is elusive, can move around in the pocket, deadly accurate arm, but he never put him in a position to be able to do anything with that. He kept running Andy Dalton's offense when Justin Fields was out there, so he did not get a fair shake last year. I mean, a lot of people wrote that season off, because Matt Nagy's stubbornness just would not. He wanted Justin Fields to run his system, and rather than run the system that works best for Justin Fields, and that's why it didn't work.
So do you think he is better suited for success this year than last year, at least based on where the offense is going to be and what type of offense that the Bears are going to run?
Yeah. And I think that the preseason game against Cleveland is a great indication of that. We did rollouts and get him out into open space, finding his receivers. I think Luke Getsy is doing a really great job so far with this offense, because we're seeing things now that we hadn't seen in Chicago probably ever.
Welcome in to the Skol Purple podcast. That was a little SPP rewind for you right there from Larry back about just over a month ago. He joined me for a season preview. And Larry, first of all, thanks for joining us here today. And I know you've been dealing with being not feeling so well, so appreciate you taking the time here, man.
No problem.
And you can follow Larry on Twitter at BTU_Larry. And so, the clip that I just played there, I gotta ask you, just from your thoughts on that clip, let's talk a little bit about your thoughts from September 1st to now. Have those things been confirmed or disputed so far from Justin Fields' play on the field?
Neither.
Okay.
Neither. And because the things that were working in the preseason are failing in the regular season, aka the offensive line, the receivers, getting open and all that kind of stuff, is like everything that the talking heads and everything were warning us about going into the regular season came to fruition in the regular season, with the lack of weapons around him, nobody really having a lot of faith in the offensive line and all that kind of stuff. And the injuries haven't helped either. So it's I can't confirm or deny that this is the good system, because we haven't really put a proper unit out there yet.
We got Grandizer in here wanting a bear growl. I don't know. You think you got one in you?
That's not a thing.
It's not a thing Bears do.
No.
Is there a chant that they do at Bears games?
We do the fight song, Bear Down Chicago Bears.
Okay. So no bear growling. Okay. All right.
I don't even think they play one of those stupid sounds in the stadium or anything like that.
Nothing like
you guys with your god awful horn every 10 seconds or whatever. Yeah.
Hey, better than Go Pack Go, right?
Indeed.
We could at least agree on that.
Have you ever heard the Lions fight song?
I don't think I have.
It is a nightmare on earth, is what it is. I went and actually saw in 2007, the Bears played at Detroit, and it was marked by two things. Number one, I got to see Devin Hester run a kickback for a touchdown where he literally ran through a space that didn't exist to, break free for the touchdown. And I also got to watch the Lions, who were down 13-3 at the start of the fourth quarter, rattle off an NFL record 34 points in the fourth quarter. So I got to hear that goddamn fight song, 6 times in the fourth quarter. And it just made me want to throw myself off the top balcony where I was sitting, just because by the end of it, it's like, somebody shoot that guy. I'm tired of hearing it now.
Well, hopefully for our sake, you'll be tired of hearing that horn again after Sunday. But
yeah, I'm always tired of hearing it.
We'll find out.
Yeah, that's enough.
Oh man. Well, yeah, it's hard to really give, and we talked about in the episode leading up to the season too, just how poor I thought the Bears front office did at surrounding Justin Fields with the talent that he needs to really show if he can succeed or not. We don't see a top two, really even type of receiver on the team. Darnell Mooney, I'm still kind of thinking he's a 3 type of receiver on a normal wide receiving core. And I guess offensive line has played atrociously as well.
Well, it's a mixed bag with the offensive line because run blocking, they're
Right.
blocking like one of the best units in the league. Pass blocking, which has led to us having the 32nd worst passing attack with a bullet, is and it's a combination of things. Guys just flat out missing assignments. Khalil Herbert, for all of his virtues, being able to run the ball, cannot pass block to save his life. It is pathetic watching him do that. But we didn't get the talent that we needed to get him around him. But again, the cupboard was bare. We had no cap space. We had little to no draft picks and things like that. I commend Poles for being able to do what he did with what he had, but there wasn't anything out there for him to be had with what we had, with what he had to start the offseason with. He can only do much.
Right. And I know you had mentioned the cupboard being bare too. And that does take time to actually get to where you need to be, where you want to be, when you're trying to pretty much fix almost an entire position group.
Well, not to mention he overhauled 2/3 of the roster. There are only 18, 19 guys left from last year's team on the roster right now. So, you bring a bunch of people in. You lost guys like Allen Robinson, Khalil Mack, Akeem Hicks, guys that were so important to the team for those, those years in 2018 and beyond. And they're all gone now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Robinson isn't exactly thriving with the Rams, which is got half us Bear fans kind of laughing to ourselves about that. But, it is what it is, I guess.
Yeah. Grandizer says it's called the Gridiron Heroes, the Lions fight song. And he thinks that the Cardinals might be right up there with some of the worst fight songs in the NFL. I have not heard theirs. I might have to go on a binge on YouTube of listening to these fight songs just to see how bad they really are. Maybe, I don't know. Might have to do some research on that. But so overall, we talked a little bit about your offense. Let's, I guess, just open it up to the grand scheme of things through your first 4 games here, Larry. What are your overall thoughts on this team? I think a lot of people would probably say they're maybe a little surprised that this team is 2-2 in terms of where, maybe some people were like me, and I was kind of like, I don't think the Bears are going to win too many games this season. So, I mean, I guess, what are your thoughts overall the first 4 games?
Well, you might be right that we'll have to take the under on those, 7-8 victories I thought we might get going into the season. But I think the Bears are right where that I thought they'd be record-wise. The only thing that's surprising is where those victories and losses came from. Because I thought for sure we'd start 0-2, losing to San Francisco, losing to Green Bay, and that we'd even up beating the Texans and the Giants. Well, instead, we upset the 49ers and we lose to the Giants, to kind of flip how I thought the first four weeks were supposed to go. So, but 2-2 is right where I thought the Bears would be when the schedule came out. Now, where we land from here on out, that's the real, that will decide how close we get to those 7 wins, 8 wins, or whatever.
Well, here you go. Here's the question from Grandizer. Prior to the NFL season, what was your guess? Bears team record prediction? You kind of said somewhere in that 7 to 8, maybe 9 at maximum wins. Has that changed now, or are you kind of standing pat right now?
No, I think it's probably, somewhere closer to where we were last year, 6-11, maybe 7-10.
Okay.
I mean, if the pattern holds, we'll finish 9-8 because we can't win on the road and we're undefeated at home so far. So who knows? I mean, that's an uncharacteristic October trip to Minnesota. Otherwise, I'd say, you guys are coming to Chicago despite your record and how well you've been playing to get beat on Sunday.
Yeah. The Panthers is the worst, my guy Tony says. And then we got another question from Grandizer. Which 2022 Bears rookies have impressed you the most? Good question. If any, maybe is another question. But I know you guys have a couple of really solid rookies, at least you thought, and maybe still will be. And Brisker on the defense, along with Kyler Gordon. What have you thought of them and your rookie class as a whole?
Well, Kyler Gordon right now is being picked on, so that might be something you guys want to focus on Sunday. I think they're playing him more at nickel than at corner right now, and unfortunately, a lot of times that means he's trailing behind the person that just caught the ball across his face. He's taking his rookie lumps right now, but Jaquan Brisker is a stud. Saw some good things early from Dominique Robinson. Braxton Jones has been solid at left tackle, and Trenton Gill, our punter, who replaced Pat O'Donnell, who had been our punter for like 7-8 years, has done pretty well so far.
All right, so
we finally got our first look at Velus Jones, and we saw how that worked out.
Yeah,
muffing the punt in the fourth quarter. Maybe want to go to the Meadowlands and shoot that guy, making us wait all this time for that.
You know, it was I was watching a Bears show. A guy I know, Arif Hassan, a Vikings reporter. Now he's working for Pro Football Network. He was on one of the Bears shows yesterday, and he was saying AARP member Velus Jones.
Yeah,
that's just how I know you had mentioned how old of a rookie he is last time. Yeah, 25 years old. You don't see that too often, but obviously with COVID and everything else going on, so. So which one of those rookies would you say has been the most impressive to you?
Brisker. Easy.
Brisker?
Yeah.
You think he's probably entrenched as one of your better defensive players for a long time?
I hope so. I mean, the other strange history that the Bears have with young safeties is that they come out of the gates like a bat out of hell, and then years 2, 3, 4, they disappear on us. You know, I mean, we had a guy years ago, and he's always my favorite example. He was a 6th round draft choice. He started day one. His name was Al Afalava. And after his rookie season, you never saw him again. He was gone after that. And like, whether it was he was gone year 2 or if he was just relegated to the bench and we never saw him again, he, played well enough in training camp to earn a starting spot on the Chicago Bears as our, strong safety or whatever position he played. And then after that, he was gone. And we've seen it happen, over and over again with various safeties over the years. It was one of those positions that we just could not get right, especially after Mike Brown started getting hurt.
So you kind of are hoping that it's a situation where Brisker could be like a Harrison Smith in the fact of just being there for a long time and not really having to worry, except this year for Harrison, who's not been grading out, at least PFF wise, very well. But you're kind of wanting to see longevity at that position.
Yeah, because we've seen guys have solid years, but it's a year-to-year thing. It's like we got done with 1 year, we're on to the next guy, kind of thing. It's been kind of a rotating carousel of young safeties impressing 1 year and then being gone the next.
Yeah. Wow, Grandizer just giving us the history of the Vikings-Bears game. 63, 57, and 2. The Vikings lead the all-time series, he says. So it's
the Bears won that one postseason game, though.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. So we'll see how that number increases more for the Vikings or decreases and gets closer to 500 here over the next couple of games this season. But anything else that sticks out to you about this team throughout the first 4 weeks before we kind of dig into the matchup here?
Just kind of funny how we have this feast or famine offense where, we feast in the run game and we're starving to death in the passing game. It's just, when we have one of the more, arm talented quarterbacks in the league with Justin Fields, there really isn't a throw the guy can't make. It's just for one reason or another. He doesn't have the time, or he's taking off too quickly. His receivers aren't getting open. He's not trusting what he's seeing downfield, whatever it is. You'd figure with the way the running game is flourishing that, the other half of the offense would follow suit right behind it.
Yeah. Yeah. And your defense has been performing pretty well, correct? Or not so much?
No.
Well, at least last week, but I guess that was at
No.
least 20 points in terms of the points, I guess, maybe. But
Yeah, points wise, we're doing great. And those dickhead announcers for Fox last week would not let go of the fact the Bears haven't allowed a second half touchdown yet this year. Every time the Giants got the ball in the second half, they've still yet to allow a second half touchdown in 2022. Like they were just daring the gods to finally just let one go through. It's like enough for. It's like the same with like last year. Cairo Santos had like a 40 field goal or something like that going streak from 2020 into 2021. Every time the guy took the field, you'd see the graphic. The announcer would mention it like they're just waiting for him to hook one so that they can finally say, oh, and there goes that streak that we couldn't stop talking about. So, yeah, I'm sure that we'll hear about it again. And, God forbid you guys cross the goal line in the second half. Oh, look at that. Took them 5 games to finally give up a second half touchdown. So, yeah.
It'll be interesting to me when we go back and look at the history of all of those moments, because the Vikings maybe have one of the most famous moments of that, where
Gary
in
Anderson.
1998, he hasn't missed in 2 years. He missed it.
Yep.
Pat Summerall, or who, I believe it was him.
Oh, it's Madden and Summerall, that's for sure.
So, yeah, that might be one of the worst jinxes. I am a broadcaster myself, so I don't necessarily believe in jinxes, but it definitely felt like that one might have been a jinx that time.
Well, you're not doing your job if you don't mention it. I'm a broadcaster by trade myself, and you're not doing your job if you don't mention it. But why do you have to pound it into the ground every time you have, there's a moment available for you to mention it? They mentioned it. It's like, okay, let it go. We know, because you've already mentioned it 4 times. Just, give it a break.
Yeah, here's another example, Vikings-wise. Currently, with Kirk Cousins and his primetime issues, they mention it all the time.
Well, the Bears were happy to help out with that last year because he finally beat us on Monday Night Football.
That's right.
You guys are welcome.
Thank you. You.
Don't have to hear about him never winning on Monday Night Football anymore. Because the Bears put a glorious 9 points on the board against you guys. So, that was fun.
Yeah, and that game was frustrating too, because to me, like, we had so many opportunities. You guys had so many opportunities.
So, dude, don't get me started. Man, Montgomery never fumbles. He fumbles inside the 20. Like, come on.
Montgomery's never fumbled ever.
Never fumbles.
There's his first fumble.
288 carries in a row. Never. Whoop! Look at there goes the ball. So yeah.
Well, man, Grandizer just feeding us questions tonight. Appreciate it, man. Silly question. If you had a magic wand, who could heal one player 100% that is on your respective team's 2022 IR roster? Who would it be? That's a good question. I guess I don't think he's on IR yet, but I think it would have to be Lewis Seen, probably, for us. I don't think there's really any other too big of impact players on IR right now for us.
We don't really have anyone on IR that I think we need back right away. David Montgomery is hurt, but he's not on IR. The one person that I would wave a magic wand and heal right now is Alex Leatherwood, just to see if he could help us on the offensive line. But he's out with mono, of all things.
Oh, really?
Now. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, right before, like, we claimed him, and like a week later, he put on the non-football illness list with mono. So he's the person that I'd heal right now to see if they might work him into the rotation to see if he could help us out.
Yeah. Wow. That's some bad luck there, right there, for you guys. But hopefully, for your sake, he comes back and is able to impact the offensive line, which I know has been inconsistent.
At best.
Yeah. So, well, let's get into the specifics. Let's start with your offense against our defense, and I guess I'll just start with our defense, and I'll kind of guess what I'll let you speak on it a little bit as well. Our defense, last week in particular, they played a really good first half. only allowing 7 points, and that was off of an interception when the defense or the offense for New Orleans had momentum off of a Kirk Cousins interception. And then the second half, they just fell apart. And that's kind of been the story the last 2 weeks, really. The Lions game, they allowed 2 touchdowns in the first quarter, and then allowed 2 more in the, I think it was 2 more in the second half in the third quarter. But the fourth quarter and the second quarter, they were fine. So, or at least points wise, they were fine. They've given up a lot of chunk yardage this season. And then we know what happened in Philadelphia. And then Green Bay game was great. But again, Aaron Rodgers getting acclimated to new receivers. Things probably are a little different if we play today. But that's kind of what the defense has been, pretty inconsistent, kind of like your offense maybe. And they have not also been great at stopping the run, but I would say maybe the pass defense is worse than the run stopping on the defensive side. How about your thoughts, I guess, from the Vikings defense, if you have any, and then your offense against our defense?
Well, I've only been able to watch, like I watched maybe 2 or 3 quarters of that Green Bay game, and saw how well you guys played there. I opted to watch Buffalo beat the unholy hell out of Tennessee on that dual Monday night. So I didn't watch. Not that I missed much because they kept split screening the damn thing into the Buffalo game.
Well, at least they weren't split screening Aaron Judge into the Kansas game,
Oh, geez.
At least it was 2 football games.
Yeah.
I mean, I like baseball, but come on, man. Get rid of this. I know there's Yankee fans, but get out of here.
Yeah. But I have been following the league as a whole a bit more this year, and I know about the lapses that they had last week against the Lions. The slow start, you catch up. Slow start coming out of the gates in the second half, come from behind win in the fourth quarter thing. So at least you're finishing your halves strong in that one, especially. And I didn't catch much of I only caught like the last few minutes of the Saints game where Lutz kicked the 60-yarder to tie it. Then you guys kicked the what became the game winner, and then watched Lutz double doink the what could have sent it to overtime, and sat there aggravated because the announce team for the game would not say the words double doink. Like, say it, say it, give somebody else the label, say it. Nope. Wasn't until they got into the studio that you finally heard the phrase double doink. I was like, you guys suck. There it is right there. Silver platter, double doink, the number 2 or whatever. Nah, he banged it off the upright and the crossbar. What's that called? Come on. We all know. It's okay. So, yeah, but I know you guys lost that rookie that you drafted. Switching to the 3-4, so maybe that's where some of the lumps are coming from, adjusting to a brand new system, defense and everything. But with our offensive outputs, we have a problem finishing drives. So if we can get from the 20 to the 20, maybe not so bad. If and when we can move the ball, it's the same as last year. And it's actually got a lot more to do with how conservative Getsy and Eberflus get in that red zone area. Like, we were inside the 5, 4th and 3 against the Giants on Sunday, and we didn't go for it.
Yeah.
With the way our offense is struggling, why would you let an opportunity like that get away? Hindsight being 2020, maybe you don't want to hear, the peanut gallery's comments for going for it and coming away with nothing. But, at the end of the day, I would much rather see my team take the risk than not. I mean, who knows? It could just be the thing that inspires everybody to play out of their minds for the rest of the game. The coaching staff showed a little faith in us. We went ahead and came through. Now look at us go. But we'll never know, because instead of going for it, we just kicked the field goal. And we did that 3 times in the red zone on Sunday. And the other field goal that was outside was like a 32-yarder. So it's not like he was kicking it from 80 yards out or anything like that. And, like with Lutz and his 60-yarders on Sunday. So if and when we can move the ball, for some reason we get real conservative when we get into field goal range, as opposed to trying to be aggressive and try to take the points. So I don't approve of it. But like running wise, they're still calling David Montgomery day to day, so I don't know if and when you might have to deal with him. Khalil Herbert's a handful all on his own, but like I said, in pass blocking, he's going to be doing you guys favors and not hurting you at all. He's terrible. If he doesn't completely miss the assignment, the guy will run past him like he's not there. So it's sad watching him, and it makes all the sense in the world why, as good a runner as Khalil Herbert is, why he's number 2 behind Montgomery, because Montgomery will put a shoulder into somebody and at least hold the guy off for a second so Justin Fields can try to get a pass off. Whereas Herbert's like, oh yeah, dude, he's right over here. So just let him walk right through.
So he's showing shades of Adrian Peterson, is what you're saying.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. So you saw, Adrian Peterson's ability to run, and I don't know if Khalil can catch the ball out of the backfield as much, but that was one thing Adrian didn't do very well, or at least the Vikings never tried to get him the ball on a passing play. And then pass protection, he was not good. They took him out pretty much every third down that there was a pass play. So at least you got the next Adrian Peterson on your hands, right?
Hey, could be, man. That
I still remember when you guys did have an actual Adrian Peterson at the same time, number 29, I believe.
I believe so.
I believe he was
Memory
29, and AP for us was 28. So it was like, wow, this is interesting. But it's, to me, I guess, did you say if Herbert, does he catch the ball in the backfield a little bit too?
Yeah, he does. He can catch it out of the backfield. He's got decent hands, but that's one huge glaring hole in his game, is that, and when you do stuff like that, you're kind of tipping your hand to the defense as to what might be coming. If you have to take Herbert out, and every time Herbert comes out, you throw the football, it's like, well, be on the lookout for a pass, because Herbert's out of the game because Montgomery's the better pass blocker. So that's why David Montgomery plays the majority of the snaps when he's healthy, because he's a three down back. And Khalil Herbert has the ability, as far as catching the ball out of the backfield, to be a 3-down back, but his pass protection is laughable. So the last thing that we want to do with him in there is to do a 5 or a 7-step drop with Justin Fields.
Yeah. So which 3 player/position matchups are we going to be watching closely? Well, I think number 1 for me is the Vikings' ability to try and slow down Justin Fields in the running game, because I know he's got the ability to scramble, and obviously he can throw. You said he can make every throw, has the talent to, at least. So my thing is, I think he's more dangerous when he's running away from pressure. And I definitely do think he's got the ability to throw. We saw that deep ball he threw. Who was it to in the Giants game?
It was Mooney.
Yeah. So that was a nice throw. And so he's got the ability to do it. But yeah, I mean, Justin Fields, to me, with his running, can we stop it? The type of mobile quarterback that we saw on Monday Night Football, a little bit, less talent, at least at this moment, is Fields compared to Hurts. But he's got the same type of skill set where he's able to run outside the pocket. He's able to make a lot of throws, make life tough on the defense. So that's the number 1 matchup. Can the Vikings avoid him getting out of the pocket? Can they put pressure on him like the Bears have seen throughout the last few weeks?
I mean, it's definitely an interesting question. Something that has plagued all 4 of the teams that we've played so far is keeping Fields in the pocket where you can get your hands on him, versus letting him break free where he's dangerous out in the open. So, we'll have to see, because most of the time that he's running the ball, it's not designed.
Yeah.
It's schoolyard ball. It's like, okay, this is how the play was supposed to go, and here's how it ended up, with Justin Fields running for 16 yards and getting a first down. Because
Yeah.
he was 10 yards downfield before anybody turned around and noticed he was running with the ball, kind of thing. So it hasn't been a game changer for us yet. It's helped us move the chains at times, but it hasn't been like, man, not like the 49er game last year. We have it at over 100 yards rushing, ran in that crazy touchdown and everything. He hasn't had a game like that yet as far as running the ball is concerned this year, but he's definitely, you know, uh, contributed to several first downs that we wouldn't have otherwise gotten if he hadn't gotten them with his feet.
Yeah.
So it's definitely something that you'd want to, maybe keep a guy that's on Justin Fields all the time. You shadow him everywhere, regardless of the play. You let the other 10 guys worry about the other 10 guys,
Yeah.
kind of thing, as opposed to like, okay, he's coming into your zone. Now you have to go get him. It's like, no, just put this guy on him and have him shadow Fields all over the place. He runs, you run. He's throwing, you drop back, kind of thing. So,
What's a matchup that you're thinking is going to be a key one?
our interior line against whatever you guys are bringing up the middle. It's been a weakness for us. If they still keep trotting Sam Mustipher out there at center, I'm terrified as to what it is you guys might bring in. So, especially since the interior is where the running back is supposed to go to fill in gaps in pass protection, and if Khalil Herbert's still our starting running back in those situations, you got swinging gate number 1, Sam Mustipher, and swinging gate number 2 in Khalil Herbert. So, yeah, I'm more worried about the interior. Braxton Jones has had his rookie lumps. Larry Barum is the same thing at right tackle, but I'm far more worried. And we have our better players on the interior with Tevin Jenkins, Lucas Patrick at the guard spots now that Cody Whitehair is out. But, Sam Mustipher is trash, just absolute trash. And if not for Lucas Patrick hurting his hand, he wouldn't be out there to begin with. So,
Yeah.
that's what kind of frustrates me. And now that Patrick is out and healthy, they keep trotting him out there, which I cannot wrap my head around at all.
Yeah.
So, whatever you guys have to go up against our interior, and more so, our beleaguered center, and what you guys might be bringing there, because that's the fastest route to Fields is over that sorry bastard.
And to answer Grandizer's question, we're going to go into the Bears defense versus the Vikings offense. And I think a big matchup is watching the Vikings receivers go against your defensive back group. Jalen Johnson, is he supposed to be back this week?
He has not practiced yet, so I don't think so.
That's huge because, as you know, there's a pretty good guy. Where's number 18? He's famous for a dance called the Gritty. Don't know if you've heard of him or not, but
yeah, he
he's
was
pretty
that
good.
guy that the Packers refused to cover in week 1.
That's right. That's right. And then you got, a pretty solid number 2 wide receiver in Adam Thielen, and an emerging number 3 in KJ Osborne, and Irv Smith still hasn't quite developed into what the Vikings have hoped for, but he's still got some talent. So, you compile all of those guys against this Bears secondary, and I mean, I'm pretty optimistic about that matchup from a Vikings perspective. How are you feeling about that matchup?
Terrified. Yeah, I mean, especially if you line up Jefferson in the slot, which means Kyler Gordon has to cover him, and that could be very, very bad for us.
Yeah.
No.
So yeah, I'm guessing that you guys are going to try and maybe get more of your safety help, especially on Jefferson, but even on Thielen, maybe you might even need to have some
Well, I'm
extra help
hoping that
down there.
somebody's going to go for his knees and cave him in so he can't get out there. Just one of those temporary 24-hour, bone bruises and keep him out of the game. I don't want to deprive the rest of the league of Justin Jefferson for the rest of the year, but if we could not have him be a factor on Sunday, that would be fantastic. Yeah, and Johnson is not yet practiced as of
Okay.
yesterday
Okay.
or today.
So yeah, to me, that's a huge red flag for you guys. I know you guys have missed him through the first 4 games for sure. But yeah, when you face a receiving core, this is probably the best receiving core that you'll face. At least you have faced, I would say, unless you, yeah. So it's going to be tough.
That's what makes me especially worried about this matchup is that we're terrible against the run so far this year, and in the passing game, we're not blitzing. We're just bringing 4. So they're expecting these guys to get home with 4. And
Ding,
aside
ding,
from Robert
ding.
Quinn, we don't really have the horses to do that right now. So Justin Jones is doing fine. It's at 3 tech, and Angelo Blackson is all right. And on the other side, you either have Travis Gibson or the rookie Robinson or Muhammad that followed Eberflus over from the Colts. And we've had 1 sack in the last 6-7 quarters. So, because we did pretty well, harassing Trey Lance week 1. We got Rodgers 3 times in the first half on Sunday Night Football in week 2, but nothing in the second half. We had 1 sack on Davis Mills, like in the fourth quarter of that game, and then nothing last week on Daniel Jones. We were too busy falling for play fakes to try to tackle him in the backfield. So
you've had 1 sack in the last 10 quarters. Is that right?
About, yeah.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah.
So yeah, it sounds kind of like the Vikings defense in the sense of not blitzing, because the Vikings also have just been sending their normal 3 or 4 guys most of the season, and they've been playing back in coverage. There's been very little press coverage, so it's been pretty easy for quarterbacks to throw quick underneath passes and get a lot of nice yards, chunk yards, smaller plays, but still able to move the ball down the field pretty well. And I don't know if it's because Donatel's so worried about the receivers beating the Vikings deep or what the deal is, but it's just been not working out for most of the season. So is that something the Bears do, or do they play a little bit more press coverage?
It's hard to tell. I mean, you definitely feel like it's man to man when you see the Kyler Gordon trailing behind the guy he's supposed to be covering. That doesn't look like zone defense when he's like, oh wait, that's my guy, and start chasing after him once he crosses his face. I will say that we haven't given up many, if any, big plays in the passing game. I think maybe 1 or 2, and one of them was kind of like the dagger for the Packers in week 2. After kind of beating us on crossing routes and getting, short yardage, maybe some yak yards to get first downs. They finally beat us deep on like a 50-yarder to Sammy Watkins to get them out of their own end zone kind of thing. But the Bears haven't been killed yet by a deep ball as far as like, oh, there was a 60-yard reception or, something like that. It was, if there have been plays like that, it was a 10-yard catch that had 40 yards come after it, as opposed to, 50 yards in one shot straight down the field like that Sammy Watkins play. But I think that's standard cover too, is you're supposed to try to keep everything in front of you, not give up the big play and things like that. So,
so you're kind of saying that the safety play has been pretty solid then. I know you had mentioned Brisker.
Well, Eddie Jackson's got 3 interceptions in 4 games so far. This past Sunday was the snapping of the streak where we were undefeated in any game that Eddie Jackson got an interception. That didn't happen for us on Sunday, but the interception he made was sick. He did one of those. He was trailing the ball while he was running away from it at the same time. He's looking back over his head, and one of those basket catch
center
things.
fielder type,
type deal. And it was a pretty awesome interception that he had, and that's the thing that's been missing from his game the last few years, is that playmaking ability to takeaways and get the ball back in the quarterback's hand. And Brisker's just been all over the place. So that's been fun to see. It's the corners that we're worried about, and our best one is likely not to play for the 3rd week in a row.
Yeah, and that's, like I said, that Jalen Johnson being out could very well be a huge factor in the outcome of this game. I guess the Vikings offensive line last week kind of had a little bit of a setback, but I think they've played really well throughout the course of the season. And you mentioned the lack of pressure that you guys have been able to get on the quarterback. So I'm thinking you guys are going to, if you want to get pressure on Cousins, which we have seen him get rattled before, and that can be a problem. I think you're going to have to probably blitz, because I think the Vikings offensive line has probably a pretty good chance of stopping your four. But I know Robert Quinn, as you mentioned, he had a great season a year ago, hasn't heated up yet, which also kind of concerns me. Like, okay, this might be his coming out party here.
Right. Well, we're hoping that that's coming, because I don't think he was, blasting out of the gate last year either, and it was impressive watching him and Mac together for the few games that they were healthy at the same time. They were like the number one sack duo in the league before Khalil Mack went down for the season and everything. And what was surprising was that he kept going after Mack went down, which is the opposite for Mack when Quinn wasn't playing well in 2020 and in those years that we had Leonard Floyd. Mac was still facing double and triple teams because the guy on the other side wasn't getting the job done. And then the one season where, Quinn is playing just as well as Mac in the on his end doing his part, Matt gets hurt and we lose him for the season, like 8 weeks into the year. So, but I'm hoping that that Quinn does eventually warm up, and this isn't one of those because his career pattern is to have a great season and then to kind of have a, median to mediocre season to follow it up. So I'm hoping this isn't that, because we need more from him this year.
And you also mentioned last thing before we wrap up with the Vikings offense versus the Bears defense. You also mentioned the running game has been an issue. Obviously, Barkley last week, that was a huge challenge for you guys. And now you got another pretty good running back in Dalvin Cook, even though he hasn't maybe looked quite like we've seen him in years past. But is that a big concern for you guys going into this one as well?
Well, knowing what Dalvin Cook is capable of, yeah, it is. It definitely is a concern, and hopefully we'll be able to neutralize it in some way. But Dalvin's great nemesis is playing for Tampa Bay these days, so you don't have to worry about Akeem Hicks being everywhere Dalvin Cook goes this year. So
That's
it's
right.
is his grand nemesis is not there to antagonize him anymore. So we'll have to see how this batch of interior guys can handle him. And it's either what these guys aren't getting the penetration that they need to get into the backfield, or the back seven isn't filling in.
Yeah.
So that's been a problem for us.
So do you think that with Akeem Hicks being gone, has that taken away some one-on-one opportunities from Robert Quinn this season? Because I think he's only got one sack so far. Do you think maybe teams were more paying attention to Hicks last year, more so than Quinn, and that's kind of gone over to Quinn now, where he's facing more double teams?
Well, his size and his power demanded attention from, talking about Akeem Hicks.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
But I'm not sure if that's what it is. Like I said, Justin Jones wasn't our first choice. Our first choice didn't pass the physical, so we ended up signing the contract with Larry Ogunjobi. I don't know how much different it would be if he was healthy enough for us to sign him at the time and everything, but it's just it's probably just the fact that after the 49er game, I guess the secret's out on Dominique Robinson, because you haven't really heard from him since, and Muhammad, and we're not seeing enough of Trevis Gibson. He had 2 sacks against the Texans, and we didn't see him much at all against the Giants on Sunday. So,
all right, one question here. I'm going to go ahead and give my 3 keys for the Vikings winning, and then I'll let you kind of go for your keys for the Bears winning. I think number 1, like I said, containing Justin Fields. That's the big thing for the Vikings defensively. And then I think offensively, they need to convert in the red zone. The Vikings were bad last week at not getting touchdowns. They were forced to settle for field goals, much like the Bears. And so I think converting those into touchdowns will be huge, and no turnovers offensively. I think if the Vikings keep those three things uh, in the back of their mind as they go throughout this game and are able to execute those things, I think the Vikings win. And probably if all three of those things go well, they should win fairly handily. But we all know division rivalries. We know that things don't always go according to plan in the NFL. So, what are your three keys for the Bears?
Well, one, I want the play action game to open up. I want to see that. I mean, we had that one big shot to Mooney last week for 56 yards was the play. But the thing that it has to go right. So we need to be consistent on offense with our pass blocking, with everything that we're doing, because it really can open things up. I mean, I think the running game is going to be what it is. How well that goes will be up to the Vikings, as far as how well they can stop us or contain the offense of our running game. What I want to see from Justin Fields is for him to be more confident, more aggressive, because you see him back there. He's either waiting too long or he's not waiting enough. I need him to find that middle ground before he takes off running, because sometimes you go back and look at the all 22 and this guy's open, that guy's open, but he's already broken the pocket and he's running. And other times you see guys running around like their heads, like chickens with the head cut off kind of thing. And he's just sitting back there patting the ball, on one of those rare times the offensive line is giving him the time. He needs to be more decisive, more confident, and in my opinion, more aggressive throwing the ball. I think he's been far too conservative at this point. And then defensively, consistency is the issue for us as well, because we can, if we were a Canadian football team, we'd have the best defense in the NFL, because third down is where our issues seem to just come to the surface. And whatever it is, running the ball, passing the ball, and all that kind of stuff. We had the Giants dead to rights twice on Sunday, and they converted both of those plays. There was one where we had Saquon about 6 or 7 yards in the backfield. He gets away from whoever the defender was, Nicholas Morrow, gets away from him, and it was third and like 12 or 16 or something crazy like that. The play is designed to go to the right. Morrow almost tackles him in the backfield. He gets away, reverses field, does a 180, runs to the right side, and doesn't get a finger laid on him until he's already gotten the first down. And then the same thing happened. It was one-on-one. It was Roquan versus Tyrod Taylor. Tyrod gave a spin move and left Roquan hugging air while he ran it for a first down. And, we can't let those things happen. That cannot happen, especially if you're a guy that's demanding $20 million a season. You can't get your shoes shaken off of you by a guy who's played for 10 teams in 10 years. So that can't happen. So those kind of things need to be cleaned up in order for us to have a chance on Sunday.
I think you'll be okay with that situation because there's not really a Tyrod Taylor, Justin Fields, Jalen Hurts, Kyler Murray type of quarterback playing for the Vikings, in case you didn't know.
Right.
In Kirk Cousins. He does have a lot of other things he can do well, but running the ball is not one of his strengths. But anyways, Larry, let's go ahead before we let you go here. Appreciate again you two coming here and giving us your thoughts on this game. Let's go ahead and give the game predictions. I already let my cat out of the bag the other day. I think this is the game that everything's going to mesh for the Vikings. There have been inconsistencies offensively and defensively throughout the course of the season. I think this is where we're going to see some of it come together here. 31-13 was my score. So I could look very silly with some egg on my face on Sunday if that's not the case or whatever, but that's what I'm going with. What do you think?
Well, I can't in good conscience pick the Bears to win right now, not with the way that they're Not with the way they've been playing. They're too inconsistent. We're missing guys in key spots and things like that. I did see while I was trying to look up the injury report that Montgomery practiced today.
Oh, he did. Okay.
He was limited, so he might play on Sunday. He will if he's got anything to say about it, but they might hold him out for another week or hold him out for Sunday because we play again Thursday against the Commanders. So with the short break and everything, maybe hold him out for that game instead of the Viking game.
Yeah.
Division rival or not, I don't like this. This is the best offense we've faced so far. Even with Rodgers and the Packers, they still have their issues with their receiving core, and they beat us with the running game. It wasn't a complete offensive thing where Rodgers picked us apart, and then when we're trying to defend the pass, they came at us with the run or anything. It was Aaron Jones or nothing in that particular game. But you guys with Thielen and Jefferson and Cook coming out of the backfield and everything, I worry about this thing could get ugly if we're not careful. But I'll be bit more conservative with my score. I'm thinking maybe 24-13 as opposed to 31. So
all right.
But if we figure out how to close things out in the red zone, they could get interesting.
Yeah, maybe both teams will finally have success closing it out in the red zone. I guess we'll wait and find out. But hey, Larry, really appreciate it. Go ahead and plug your show. I know you did a show with Daily Norseman this week, right?
I do it with Daily Norseman every year. He was literally one of my first guests when I started having guests back in 2015. And he's always been my Vikings guy. No offense. So
that's all right. I get it.
Yeah, but we did the show last night and it dropped this morning, and it was interesting because we always like to talk about how crazy this rivalry can be and how wacky some of the games turn out to be, but unfortunately, it usually takes place in Soldier Field. You don't really see the zany stuff take place in Minnesota. So we've got the quote unquote more boring of the two matchups. Coming up this weekend, where it's usually a pretty straightforward matchup one way or the other. And also the Bears haven't won there since 2020, maybe. So, yeah. But it's the Bears Talk Underground. Find us on Apple, Spotify, everywhere you get your podcasts. You can find me at BTU_Larry on Twitter and Instagram. And you can also join the Facebook group. Just search Bears Talk Underground.
All right, Larry. Hey, man, really appreciate it. And looking forward to hopefully talking with you down the road again.
My pleasure.
All right. That's going to do it here for the show today. Thank you for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, ring the bell. And as always, what do we always say? I know you won't say it, Larry, but we say Skol.